This isn't just another story about a weapon system from World War II. Not at all. This is a story about how one of the most powerful forces in the universe, a father's love and his rage, can literally bend steel, shatter regulations, and completely change the course of a war. So let's really think about that question. Because the answer is a flying gun platform that, by all accounts, should never have existed. It was an illegal experiment born from pure focused fury, and it would end up turning the tide of the entire war in the Pacific. So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to follow this incredible journey, right from a devastating personal tragedy all the way to a tactical revolution. We'll see how one man's very private war ended up having massive global consequences. Okay, so to really get the machine, you have to understand the man, and you have to understand the exact moment his entire world just fell apart. I want you to meet Paul "Pappy" Gunn. Now, this isn't some young, hotshot pilot. He's 42 years old, a retired Navy guy who's running his own airline in the Philippines. He knew planes inside and out. But in December of 41, none of that expertise mattered when the Japanese invaded, and his family, his wife Polly, and their 4 kids were caught right in the middle of the chaos. I mean, look at this timeline. It is just absolutely brutal. One day, he's a civilian businessman. The very next, he's a captain in the Army Air Corps flying critical missions. Then, on Christmas Eve, he's given a truly impossible choice: disobey a direct order or abandon your family. He followed his orders, he flew to Australia, and less than a month later, he got the news. His entire family was imprisoned. That's the moment something inside him just snapped. And right here, this is the absolute key to the whole story. For Pappy Gunn, the war was no longer about strategy or objectives. It was personal. His mission wasn't just to defeat an enemy. It was about destroying the specific war machine that was holding his family captive. Every single ship he could sink, every mission he flew, was one tiny step closer to getting them back. So while Gunn was consumed by his personal war, the Allies, well, they were fighting a losing one. They had this massive, seemingly unsolvable problem out in the Pacific. Now that number, less than 1%, let that sink in. That was the success rate of Allied high-altitude bombing against moving Japanese ships. It was catastrophically bad. For every 100 bombs the big B-17s dropped from miles up, less than one was hitting its target. You simply cannot win a naval war like that. Japan was basically reinforcing its island garrisons with almost zero opposition from the air. So you've got official methods failing miserably. The stage was perfectly set. And that's when Pappy Gunn, driven by his personal fury, steps in with an idea so radical, it was completely, totally against the rules. Gunn's idea was, in a way, brutally simple but absolutely revolutionary. He thought, forget dropping bombs from miles up, why don't we turn the bomber itself into the weapon? So he started taking these B-25 Mitchell bombers and, with no permission whatsoever, started ripping out the glass bombardier's nose and just packing it with as many forward-firing .50 caliber machine guns as he could physically fit. And this chart just brilliantly illustrates that transformation. I mean, look at the difference here. A standard B-25 was designed to be this high-altitude, almost surgical instrument. Pappy Gunn's Strafer was a low-altitude, blunt force weapon. It's like he took a sniper rifle and turned it into a sawed-off shotgun. He cranked the forward-facing firepower from maybe 1 or 2 machine guns to 8, 10, or even more. The tactic was just as radical as the plane itself. Okay, picture this. First, you scream in just feet above the waves, so low and fast the enemy gunners can't even track you. Then, 1,000 yards out, you open up with all 8 guns, just sweeping the decks, silencing their defenses. And finally, when you're almost on top of them, you release a bomb that literally skips across the water like a stone and explodes underneath the hull, where the armor is weakest. It was a 10-second symphony of pure destruction. So you've got the theory, you've got the illegal modifications. Now it's time for the ultimate test. It's all about to come to a head in one single decisive battle. So, Allied codebreakers hit the jackpot. They get all the details of a huge Japanese convoy.
heading to reinforce their troops in New Guinea. We're talking 8 transport ships, carrying almost 7,000 fresh troops, protected by 8 destroyers. If this convoy gets through, the entire Allied advance could be stopped cold. It was the perfect target for Pappy Gunn's new ship killers.
The results? I mean, you can't even call this a victory. It was an annihilation. The Japanese lost 12 ships and around 3,000 men. The Allies? Just 4 planes and 13 crewmen. This chart doesn't just show a lopsided battle. It shows the birth of an entirely new and terrifyingly effective kind of warfare.
And this table right here tells the whole grim story. Look at that top line. Every single one of the transport ships, the entire reason the convoy existed in the first place, was sent to the bottom of the ocean. And they took half of their destroyer escort with them. The Japanese mission to reinforce New Guinea wasn't just a failure. It was completely, utterly erased.
But the Battle of the Bismarck Sea wasn't an ending. No, it was a beginning. The shockwaves from this one single battle would fundamentally change the rest of the war in the Pacific. The impact was immediate, and it was profound. Japan basically gave up trying to resupply New Guinea by sea. Think about that. And Gunn's once illegal idea? It was so successful that the manufacturer, North American Aviation, started building factory-made strafers, some with as many as 18 forward-firing machine guns. This one man's innovation secured Allied air superiority and, you can argue, significantly shortened the war.
But we can't forget why he did all this. Well, Pappy Gunn was becoming this living legend, changing military doctrine. His family, Polly, and their 4 children were still suffering. They were prisoners in the Santo Tomas internment camp. His every incredible success was always shadowed by their continued captivity.
You know, these numbers, they really tell the whole story, don't they? 3 years and 14 days his family was imprisoned. 9 times he was wounded in combat badly enough to receive a Purple Heart. Thousands and thousands of aircraft were built based on his vengeful dream. And all of it, every risk, every crazy modification, every dangerous mission was driven by one singular goal: saving that one family. And on February 3rd, 1945, he finally succeeded. American forces liberated the camp, and his family was finally free. So Pappy Gunn's story really leaves us with this question, right? He saw a system that was failing, and he had a personal crisis that demanded immediate action. And instead of just accepting the limits of the tools he was given, he broke them apart and he built something new, something terrifyingly effective. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What rules, what accepted limits are holding you back from solving your own impossible problems?